questions that we had is obviously University of Boulder, correct? So you studied in journalism. And so I guess just out of the gate there, what was your goal? Like, did you have a mindset like when you were growing up as far as to get into, being a writer or being on TV or being a TV host or anything like that growing up? And tell us a little bit more about that degree, why you chose it.
I've always been a creative person, and I express myself best through non-traditional outlets. So in high school, if we had an option to write like an essay or do like a creative project, I would always choose the creative project because writing just blew my brain up. But if I get my hands on a video camera and do something fun, that's what I did. And I loved MTV. When I was a kid, I wanted to be like a host of like Total Request Live or even be on The Real World or something like that. I just thought it seemed like a really cool job. Like you get to go around the world and like interview people and play music and go on adventures, and that's your job. And as a young person, that was really influential to me. And then in college, I got a degree in broadcast journalism, and I loved that. I've always been a storyteller in one way, and it's always mostly been through video. And I did an internship my senior year of college at the local NBC station in Denver at the news channel. And I learned very quickly that I didn't want to do local news because if you watch local news, it's kind of sad and depressing. And I was like, I don't want to be part of this. I want to make happy news. I want to make inspirational stories. And so I did that internship, which was very valuable, knowing that that's not what I wanted to do in life and that I wanted to do something completely different. When I graduated, instead of going into the journalism world, I joined the Peace Corps, and I lived in Honduras for 2 years, which was an incredibly valuable 2 years of my life. And I'm doing this really quickly, but when I finished my Peace Corps service after 2 years, instead of flying home, the Peace Corps was going to give me a plane ticket to go home. I cashed in my plane ticket, bought a bicycle, and decided that the best way to go home would be to ride my bike from Honduras to Boulder, 4,000 miles through Central America and Mexico. And so that was really my first true adventure. And it lit me up inside. I've never felt so alive. And I had a little Sony Handycam that was recording to little DV tapes. This was before digital.
Yep.
And I filmed a lot of the adventure as I went home, hoping that someday I would make a documentary or something. This is way before YouTube or even any type of digital video. And so when I got home, I edited this short video together and I submitted it to the Travel Channel. Because at the time they had a show where they would buy essentially vacation footage from people around the world and make this little clip show. And they bought my footage for $500. I thought it was big time.
Big money.
Big money. And it played on the Travel Channel. And from that moment, I was like, I want to be an adventure travel show host. And so I put all of my energy into accomplishing that dream. We'll stop.
I
have two questions.
What do you real quick? What do you think about what was it from getting on Travel Channel that made you love that too? Because there's a lot of things that maybe it's like, hey, I'm doing something and people are watching it. Like, what was your kind of gratification that made you say, I love this?
That's a great question. I love the idea of sharing stories with the world that hopefully would inspire them to go outside of their comfort zones, whether that's just getting on an airplane and traveling somewhere new or challenging themselves physically or just, showcasing interesting stories. A lot of people can't travel. They don't have the money. So TV is the way that they travel. And I thought that I would be a good guy to tell these stories. I know I'm energetic, I'm fun, or at least I think I am. And that's how it all started.
I would say 130,000 other people who have hit that button think that as well, plus 19 million views. Yeah, they hit that button. Yeah. So I have two questions, one of which is kind of about the video camera. And you brought this camera with you to the Peace Corps. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you had enough tape or function with you to house all this media. When did you start getting into cameras? Like, what was the reason why you started to film yourself and start to create these movies? Because most people, until this came around, it was you had to have a physical device that was a separate item for video.
Yeah,
it wasn't for Jackass.
Yeah, exactly. No, I wasn't a Jackass guy, although I was entertained by that. But not a lot of people had video cameras. College students, it's just not something you had. They cost like $1,000. And why would you have a video camera? Because it's, nowhere to broadcast it except for your, family videos or something. So my senior year, I was a broadcast student. So I was used to using video cameras and shooting and editing, little news stories for the campus TV. And my present to myself, my senior year when I graduated, was buying this little Sony Handycam, which was like $1,000. It was the Sony DCR PC9. I'll never forget the model because I lusted after this camera forever. And I finally got it. And I knew that I wanted to document my experience in Honduras in some way, shape, or form. And so I did film a lot of my life down there as well. But really the meat of that, the story and where I used that camera was on the bike ride home.
And so, okay. So that leads me to the second question I had is, I don't, in my mind, buying bikes in the US, mainly in Florida, lots of bikes to choose from, lots of good bikes to choose from. You have a lot of items, you can choose different tire sizes, all that kind of stuff. You can go to a store and upgrade your bike. Honduras, I've spent a lot of time in Costa Rica. I don't know if I would see a bike that I would want to ride from Honduras to Denver or to Boulder. So what was the process of like finding a bike there? Did you get one shipped in? How'd you find that bike?
So very good question, because most of the bikes that are sold in Central America are kind of cheapy Chinese Walmart-esque bikes. They're just not high quality, and there's no way that they would be able to go 4,000 miles from Honduras to Boulder. So I was at a bar one night and I met another American guy who was down in Honduras working for a non-governmental organization. I forget which one, but we were just chatting. And I told him that I was looking for a real bike, like not one of these junkers. And he's like, I actually have a Trek mountain bike that I'm going to sell because I'm leaving. I've been here for 3 years and I'm leaving. I'll sell it to you for $500. And I was like, yes, I want your bike. And so that's how I got my bike. And I was very lucky to meet this gentleman. And of course, I was in Honduras, Peace Corps. I didn't have $500. So I remember having to call my mom and saying, hey, Mom, can you send a $500 check to this guy's sister in San Francisco, and then he'll give me the bike in Honduras. And that's how it happened.
And so when you were in Honduras, like you make this decision, and obviously it seems like there's some fate that's telling you, okay, this is the right decision. The guy's there, got the bike, you're having a drink. He's like, I got a bike. You've get the money situation all settled out pretty simply. But, riding 4,000 miles is no joke. Like riding 100 miles is an accomplishment for many people. To the Century Ride, they accomplish that. Were you doing any training when you were there? Like, was it just hiking, walking? What was going on?
I've always been a fairly active, athletic human. I've always ridden a bike everywhere I go. Here's a fun fact about me. I've never had a car in my life. I commute by bike everywhere. I got my license at age 32, but only so I could host some Land Rover commercials. So that's kind of the story there. Is I kind of forgot what I was talking about. I was talking about this bike and how I got it, right?
Yeah, and you're talking about like, were you doing any training while you were there?
Yes, exactly, training. I'm always running or biking or something, but I wasn't training hard. I knew that the ride would train me as I went.